there's a whole ecosystem of people now like learning and passing down information.
That's cool.
I think that's like such a powerful way to learn and have community.
Style is more than just the clothes you wear. It's the essence of who you are, and it's in everything you do. Discover it here and unleash your style beyond what you wear. All right, so today we have the wonderful and talented Zoe Rain. I remember a few years back when I was looking through Instagram and trying to find photographers to do headshots for G. Alexander, that I was just trying to find something different, because I've always been proud of the fact that I'm different and unique. It's something I pitch all the time. And so I was scrolling, and I don't remember the exact picture, but I saw a picture, stopped, I was like, this is the style I want, and looked at the photographer, and it was Zoe. And to me, the more I looked through your work, I was just like, this is the person I want to shoot with. So I reached out on Instagram, and we got chatting and ended up doing a couple shoots together. And I think you are remarkably talented and unique, and House of Style is all about encouraging people to have a unique style outside and beyond just the clothes they wear. So you're the perfect person to have on, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So I want to get started. One thing that I find really interesting about photographers is their unique style, and I think you in particular have a very unique one. To me, one of the things that stuck out right away was your use of color. Mm. And I don't know what that's, I feel like I've heard the term color grading. I don't know if that's anything to do with it, but color and just the way you shoot was so interesting. How did your style as a photographer develop?
Great question. Yeah, I think it's funny because I do look at my work, and I color is such a like strong piece that I like to push and have really be bold. And like at my house, like, and what I wear is like black and white. Like I don't wear color. Like I'm very monotone. So it's funny that it shows up in the work. I'm not sure. Okay, Kush. Is this the time we need to do this?
Absolutely.
Can we stop? Okay. Sorry, I'm so distracted as she's doing that. So
she can do her thing this whole entire time.
I know. Can you not kick me?
You don't have to worry about her. We love dogs. Big dog fans. I don't know that she'd get along with my 9.5 pound mini poodle, but he's a great guy. Who knows?
Cute.
Okay, so color, style, developing.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it developed. I started out shooting a lot of live music and really gravitated towards the lighting setup and like the contrast of it all, and the bright use of like blues and pinks. So that's sorry, I'm gonna put her
all right,
there.
we'll put her away.
Yeah, I can't.
We'll take a 10-second break.
I love you.
We do love you, and you're adorable in the sweatshirt. Perfect.
Okay. Do you want to like redo that question, maybe?
No, like we can so you're talking.
Do you feel like you want
Yeah.
to
Do you?
that question?
This is.
I don't know where we cut or what it.
You started with live music.
Yeah.
And okay, so I guess a follow-up I was going to ask was live music how did you get into live music? I'm always wondering how people get that. Do you reach out to people randomly? Do you show up and say, I'm here to shoot? And then what about live music? Like, was that the thing that you said, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I started photography in high school. Was mostly just taking the course as like an easy A. And a photographer came in and helped mentor me. And like fast forward, he was working with Macklemore and Ryan Lewis in Seattle, like making like super early on videos. Like they're all self-funded, but these are just like very much like love projects. And I wanted to take photos of the show. So they had their first kind of release like album party of Ryan Lewis and Macklemore together in a small venue that was like 21 and up. And I'd never taken photos of really anything, especially with like professional gear, and kind of just like jumped into it. And I think like none of the photos were in focus, but like the energy of it was so intoxicating that I just remember like being like, I fell in love with it. It felt like the culmination of being able to observe and capture something while like being a part of the energy. And yeah, I've never found anything that really is as invigorating as live shows.
So do you still like doing live shows?
Yeah, I do. For people that I am a fan of. I think that's always been true. Like if I don't like the music or I'm just not familiar with it, like the level of the energy is so different.
I find that true in everything of my life.
Right.
And I've always kind of thought I was really a good poker player, have a good poker face, and can, be happy with every client I meet, every person I meet. But then there's just some people you meet that you love their energy and you're just like, you're feeling it. It just comes across like you're having more fun. The work comes across more enjoyable and just higher quality.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite artists right now?
Just in general, like
right now. What was the last song you were listening to?
I've been listening to a lot of Jacob Banks and Renee Rapp. She's
awesome.
Phenomenal. She
is awesome.
Yeah.
Those are fun ones. Those are good. Jacob Banks has been one of my favorite artists for a decade now. Saw him the first time at Lincoln Hall, I think. He's always a fantastic performer. Are there who's been your favorite person or two acts that you've captured? It doesn't have to be people. We can call it acts so that they don't feel bad after they hear this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's like cliche to say, but my favorite artist to date to photograph live has been Macklemore. I've like never seen the amount of like costume changes, like production value, like I mean, I've probably seen that. I mean, he has different shows, but in a tour season, I probably watched that show 100 times at least. And like, I still enjoy it, and there's some artists where I'm kind of like checking my watch, like, holy shit, how you have an hour and a half of songs. But like, I was always so entranced by it.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So then you take your step away or, going past live music, you start doing photo shoots. Did you stick with artists you knew? Like, how did you grow your business? Because, you become an entrepreneur then. You've been doing your own thing for a while. It's like, how did you grow your business as an entrepreneur?
I had a lot of help just with the publicity of being on that tour. Just like meeting a lot of people and then meeting artists. And as I kind of moved to Chicago, I had a really good group of people that just wanted to kind of introduce me to friends. So I was able to meet, stylists or chefs or every type of artist in the city. And I think at the time I took whatever job was going to pay money. And then for personal projects, I was just reaching out to people that were doing cool stuff. And like, it's really great to be a photographer because I have the ability to give a gift to anyone, really. Like, I always can offer photos. So it's a really great just for, it's not like, oh, I just want to pick your brain or like,
right.
It's nice to be able to have some sort of exchange.
That is nice. I can't tell you how many times growing the business and even trying to launch this new one where I try to do the let's grab coffee. Like, I'd love to pick your brain. And, there are a whole bunch of strategies on how to do it so that you can make the other person feel like they're just as invested.
Right. Probably not saying, can I pick your brain?
Right. Exactly.
It's like rule number one.
Exactly. Don't say pick your brain. Don't make them feel like this is such a huge, favor. But there isn't a lot I can do. And I think it's so awesome that you can have, it kind of sounds like I'm an asshole if I say, hey, I can fix your style before I meet them. It probably won't go over so great with most people. Some people at this point I think would think it's okay. But I think that's really cool that you can always just offer something. Why Chicago?
Initially, I had just been touring the U.S. and had no idea like that there was like Lake Michigan or how big the city was. And so like coming here, we had like a day off, and I was just immediately like really had a connection with it, and met my ex-girlfriend, who basically I moved across the country to like woo her, but it was the whole package of the city as well.
I grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. I've always been here. Given how my entire family is here, I'll likely end up staying here. I'm hoping that I have the means soon or when I'm older to travel all over. But I always find it really interesting why people come to Chicago, because especially we spend some time in Scottsdale each year. And then when I take trips around the country, especially to warmer places, I was like, how do you end up picking Chicago? But it is a fantastic city. I get it.
Yeah, it's like a good mix between like not as big as New York and not as, I don't know,
LA.
Stuck up as LA. Yeah.
But you're still doing work in LA. You're still trying to do work in LA. So what is that like for you? Is that something that is out of necessity to like keep yourself in the game, or is it something you want to be doing?
I think I've always had this like underlying notion that, and I think we're told that of like there's so much opportunity in LA, and being that I want to work with musicians and like celebrities and that type of atmosphere, and just there's so many projects going on that I feel like that energy is something that I might as well at least take a real stab at, because I can make connections kind of traveling there, but I think you really have to feel a little bit more like stationary and home there for people to remember you for jobs.
For sure. I've reached out, and like my team's reached out to people in LA, and it's always like, oh, you're not LA based, and it's end of conversation right away.
Yeah.
No matter how bad their stylist might be, it's still Chicago. Nah.
Right. Well, there's so many people there already. It's like the energy to branch any wider, you don't need to.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm very much on the once my name starts getting out there more and more, then those people will be like, oh, we'd love to have you style.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was like with moving from Seattle here. There was like a good 5 years where I was living here but still getting pretty much the same amount of work that I was in Seattle, just because people aren't necessarily aware that I'd moved, or I was still top of mind. So kind of hoping to do that and kind of either be able to be doing Chicago jobs and focusing on LA, or I don't know. I mean, always good to cast a bigger net.
Yeah. Do you ever feel defined by your past and what you've done, like defined by the Macklemore tour, and that's what people know you by? Does that ever bother you, if so?
I think it's been 10 years now since I first started on that tour. That definitely used to be a concern of mine, but I feel like that has kind of faded out, which is nice.
How did that fade out?
I think just time and doing other projects, working with other artists. I mean, I really wanted to diversify what I was doing, and I do majority not music work at this point. So that helped as well.
Well, we bumped into each other at a trade show for clothing. Are you going to the one in a few weeks?
Mm-mm.
It's every 6 months. There's this huge trade show. It's called The Collective. They started a women's one recently too. I'm going less and less, and at this point I only go to see one or two people. Mm-hmm. It's such a hassle. But when I saw you were shooting for
Collective.
Yeah. Those are cool jobs too, I would imagine. Gives you different experience. Are you trying to do corporate work too?
I do a lot of corporate work, to be honest. It pays great and it's very like consistent. But no, not trying to do more. Definitely like, I would love to sit in the middle of like fashion editorial and commercial, like working with celebrities that are working with brands is kind of like a sweet spot. That
sounds like a future House of Style thing. When we have our creative space and we have all the brands working with artists and celebrities, it's going to be perfect. Right. So I asked the past thing because it's something I have always struggled with. I got started in fashion when I moved into an apartment across from a clothing designer, and we became great friends, hit it off. I helped him with his business and did some modeling for him. And for years after I worked with him, I had to figure out how to respond to people about not working with him or for him anymore. And then when I got my first TV segment, probably it was before the pandemic, probably 2018 or 2019, I was, they were like, where did you get your taste from? How did you learn to do all this? Like, well, I taught myself most everything, but I kind of got started with him, but I could never say his name. I tried so hard. I mean, it drove me nuts trying to figure out how to undefine myself and untangle myself from that
right.
web. And to me, like, that's always something as an artist and creative, I feel like creatives have something they want to be known for, want to leave behind. And that's something that I think a lot of creatives struggle with, is like what they are left behind or are leaving behind, and who's defining them as what.
Right.
Like, what do you want people to kind of know you for, besides being like, you're a wonderful person too, outside of being a photographer? And I think some people, when they think of who they're working with, or like you shot photos for me, I think most people just look at that work, but like, you're also kind and fun to work with and easy to work with. Being easy to work with is, like, to me, one of the most valuable traits in somebody.
Absolutely.
Like, what do you want to be known for?
I love that. No one ever. Yeah, I think that is like such a dilemma of being an artist, is like having it completely define you. And I think even defining yourself that way, like, if my art is good, then I am good. If my art is good, then I am doing well, and then my mental health, right? But it really is not best if you're not working as much, or you're not feeling like you're making your best work. Like, it feels like you are not your best self, which is, it's good to like disconnect from that. I've been trying to figure out what I want to define my style as, but I think having it feel like authentically, I don't remember how I defined it before, but
Rainy,
right? I think boldly authentic. Like, it's just, there's no like flashy gimmicks. Like, I don't want my subjects to be like putting on a happy face or trying to be sexy or trying to evoke something. Like, I really like when people just like settle into themselves, and I think that the images are more powerful and feel real. So yeah, I mean, I think I love just powerful portraiture.
That's awesome. That's a great way of putting it. Boldly authentic it's solid. I might steal that at some point. Do you ever, I think a few of the words you touched on kind of made me think of this. Do you ever or still feel in an imposter syndrome type of thing where, because I mean, you've done some incredible things and worked with some awesome people that I think most anyone would be like, oh, holy shit. Do you find yourself ever doubting yourself, ever thinking like, no, like, how did I get any of this? Anything like that?
Yeah, all the time. I think especially in the lulls of the business, because you know you can have like very busy seasons and then it can completely die. That has always been really difficult, because it just feels like, oh, this is it. Like I'm never getting work again. And like learning to push past that has been helpful. And I try to like stay off social media, because I think it's really not great for me when I'm comparing myself with others, obviously. Because I don't have like a large team or like a manager. I don't really like have a family that's like supportive, or like that is able to be supportive. And so it feels kind of like I'm a one man shop sometimes.
Yeah.
And so it can be overwhelming to be seeing people that are able to kind of organize these teams, and so always growing in that way. But I think I would be surprised if any artist you ask does not have that.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel very similarly. I think especially as we got G. Alexander to a great spot. We were working with awesome clients, the level at which we want to be at. We're bringing in solid revenue. And then I kind of say, we're going to stop all of that at the peak of its success to start this new venture that people are going to think I'm absolutely crazy for even trying, and everyone's going to question why I'm doing it and why I'm stopping the thing that is successful and bringing money to do something bigger, never done before. And my gosh, trying to go into, whether it's investor meetings, even telling people about the idea for the first time, I still find myself questioning, did I make the right choice? Did I not? Because we're not bringing in the same. I've stopped working with new clients. And so when you cut out all revenue, it's pretty much been a year of some old clients coming through once in a while, but just the biggest lull that I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, we just need to get that first. We have some investors that are interested and are willing to give a chunk of the money we need. If we have somebody that will cover, so we're trying to raise $40 million pre-revenue. So before we make $1, we need at least $40 million to get going, which is ridiculous. And it's not a normal thing. It's not something you can go to VCs and say, hey, I need 40 million. They'll all just line up and say like, here's 5 to 10. The people we have in place, we can get 12 million today if we had one person that said, I will give you 20 million at least, and they're interested in fashion and have done fashion or retail before. And all the no's lead you to come up with better and better ideas, which is to me like the most important part of imposter syndrome and kind of doubting yourself or where things are going. I know that when this happens, it's going to absolutely change the way people shop and how businesses do business. But the road to getting there is going to be very long and with plenty of ups and downs. And I think each no is just a way to look at something differently and say like, hey, I can do this differently. I come up with this different idea. Or back to the point of not saying, hey, can I pick your brain? It's just rewording every email and just honing in on what will land that one person that will say yes.
Right. I mean, yeah, failure is very helpful, but doesn't necessarily feel the best in the moment, but it's necessary.
Has there been a time where you're like, oh, I completely failed that one?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say like early on in my career, just being naive or green on the scene. Like I've like not had enough memory cards or not had enough, like they're just all the things that could go wrong where I'm not prepping myself to be like have a plan B, or you know, like not having an assistant, where I'm carrying lights around, which like why did I do that? And I think those were also necessary though, right? Because like now I'll never forget a memory card. Like once you have those moments of like terror on the scene, it changes the game.
Definitely. Like all of it leads to success, and like that, I think once you kind of hone in on your style and you become determined enough to keep going, like this is your life, like this is what you're doing to provide for yourself and to give you the lifestyle you want. It's kind of like a kick in the ass, like you know this is what you have to do, so you get up. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail. That's where a lot of creatives I think fail, because creatives aren't always the best with business. And it's something that I think needs to be addressed. I don't know where you address that really, but House of Style will eventually address that some way, somehow. Do you look for mentoring opportunities where you can help younger creatives and younger photographers try to not like mimic your style, but like learn from your style, get into live music, understand how to kind of capture that energy that you talk about? Like, is mentorship something that's important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a really great intern last summer who had like moved to Chicago temporarily, and we had her for like basically a whole year. So that was like a really yeah. All right, that was one of her first shoot. Yeah. Yeah. So.
That was her first shoot?
I think so. Yeah, the one we. Yeah.
I follow her. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's fun. But yeah, that was such a great way to not only like have her learn from me, but I have two like great, three now, I guess, like studio mates that these guys have been, know my gear, and then we've been on a bunch of shoots. And so like to be able to see them showing her how things worked felt like so gratifying, because it was just like there's a whole ecosystem of people now like learning and passing down information.
That's cool.
I think that's like such a powerful way to learn and have community.
That's good. Community, I think, is something that I don't know if I lack is definitely the right word, but I have always felt pretty siloed and alone as an entrepreneur. And even like just as recently as last week, there were a couple moments, and like Naya does so many things. She does social media, she helps with styling, she makes sure most of the time I have my sanity remotely in check. And like Mike does so much for the company, and like I have people to do everything, but being alone I think is definitely a part of it. I wish I had a studio space. It's kind of one of the ideas with House of Style, is to just have something for everybody. If I have a space that we can have artists come in to make something that influencers can use, that photographers and videographers can capture, and stylists and people like me get to be a part of, that will have this amazing community while also making a bunch of money. But that being alone aspect is definitely like one of the hardest things for me in entrepreneurship, and always I think been the thing that I've fought against. So I would imagine like mentorship is a pretty cool way kind of around that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think inherent with, I can't imagine with styling, but I think very similarly, like being a musician, like there's way more, you are collaborating, you can have like, combine music and create something together, where there's not necessarily that way to do like one person's got to take the picture. So you can't, do that. And similarly, like, I don't know how you, like, if you're able to do collabs with stylists, but yeah, there's not a lot of opportunity to to connect in a way other than with the people that you're working with.
Right.
Which, right, like I see my friends when I'm on set.
Yeah. I think, at least, I'm sure there are stylists that work together. I don't know if my ego would prevent me
Right.
from it or not. I think most stylists think they would come up with the best outfit or the best look. That's a great question. I wonder if it would work. Generally, like when I look, I also don't go on social media much. Now I can attest to that. When I do see things, I regularly am like, why would somebody hire that stylist? I'm like, how does that look make any sense for them?
Right. Yeah, that can be frustrating for
Oh,
sure.
so frustrating.
Yeah.
I've mostly gotten over that because I never was trying to be a celebrity stylist, and that was never something I wanted to get into. I mean, even some of the most famous celebrity stylists talk about how terrible of an industry that is to be in, because you're not treated well, you don't get paid very well, and people are always trying to, work around you.
Right.
So that was never something I wanted to do or worry about. But yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to work with another stylist or not.
Yeah.
Mentoring other stylists, absolutely.
Right.
Then it becomes the self battle of, why should people listen to me? It's like starting this podcast. Doing this podcast, many mixed feelings on it. I love talking, and I love talking with interesting people. And to me, like, their stories are fascinating. But when I do shows where it's just going to be me, I'm sitting there like, why should people be listening to me? And then I'll turn around and be like, I am the best stylist around. Everybody should listen to me.
Right.
Always a constant internal battle.
Yeah.
Do you ever struggle with burnout or just a lack of, not creativity, but like a lack of a creative spark, like for something new?
Yeah. I mean, I just went through like insane burnout, basically like through COVID up until now. So it's been really nice to like feel like inspired to do things again and create. So yeah, I totally get that. And it's hard, like when you're in it, because everyone says like this too shall pass. But in the moment it feels like is this going to be forever? Like,
what did burnout look like for you? Because you're still shooting, or at least for, how do you do those things and keep it going? Because you have to pay the bills, you have to do those things, but keep it at least true enough to yourself where it's not like you're turning something in that you're not proud of at all. Or were there times like that?
I think it was just a lot of the jobs that come in naturally without me putting in the work to be networking or meeting people or looking for jobs. Like those opportunities keep the lights on and can pay really well, but aren't necessarily like what I'm looking to be doing.
Right.
And I enjoy most things. Like the only thing I really don't like taking photos of is children. And so if I can just be a fly on the wall and shoot events or whatever that's not so glamorous, I can do that and be burnt out and still feel proud about the work. But I just like doing personal work just had no, it felt overwhelming. And so I think I don't do well when it feels overwhelming. So I just kind of had to sit it out and like get into other hobbies.
Yeah. What other hobbies?
The plants was definitely
you have some
a
great
big
plants.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plants. I got into like resin art, sewing for a bit, aquariums, anything.
All fun things.
New pets, anything to distract myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Naya's big on new pet every week. Naya's like, I think I might get this.
Right.
Think I might get this.
Hey, sad, get a parakeet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
There you go. That's great. Okay, so describe your perfect, you said you kind of want to be at the intersection of like fashion and celebrity. What would be your like a dream shoot right now?
I wish I remembered the photographer's name, but they did a really great job of doing personal shoots, but eventually their whole portfolio was these like lifestyle-esque images that are, yes, they're produced and well curated, and I'm thinking like a Vans ad where it's like 4 cool, diverse people in a like on a road trip or something, right? So you like let's actually go have the road trip. Let's actually like make s'nores. I'm just gonna have a camera. I'm gonna document it in like the way that I do, and maybe incorporate like more kind of stage portraiture within it to create like a piece and a editorial story. I think that would be really fun.
Have you reached out to Vans and pitched that? Because like, that sounds like, to me, if Vans' marketing person heard that and didn't want to go with that, like, you're an idiot sort of thing. Right. Have you done that?
No,
have you considered doing that?
I'm like the 90% and then stop the 10%. So like I have all the emails and what I'm going to say, I just like need to put them together and then press enter. But I think now that I'm not so burnt out, that's kind of the next step.
I recently was talking with somebody, and especially with House of Style and everything I have going on, getting it running, and at the same time as doing all the admin work for G. Alexander and still placing some designing orders here and there. Just with everything, I've been completely overwhelmed with emails and reaching out to people, which is kind of entirely what I need to be doing right now. And someone said, why don't you just hire a VA and get a virtual assistant? I was like, because it's money. And they're like, if you think about it and break down how much time you're actually losing. Right. And I did a lot of the math. I was like, oh my gosh, this actually seems so worth it. VA is the answer.
Cool. I'll talk to you about that. My therapist keeps saying that as well. And I don't really understand how it works. Like, but I love the...
I didn't either. And then, so I interviewed a couple on Upwork, and then I met with a company that essentially, like, they loan you one of theirs. They train VAs, and then you don't have to put them on your payroll. It's like you pay this company, and they'll give you a rock star VA that's completely trained and ready to go.
Great.
It's like, this kind of sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
I just had this meeting, so I still have to like follow up and do it. But when I finished that meeting, I don't remember the last time I was so excited from a meeting.
That's great.
Yeah. So highly suggest that, because literally I think if you pitch Vans on that, they'd be like, yeah, sure, name the price.
Right. I love it.
Yeah. All right. So that's your homework. VA and Vans. VA's part of Vans. Look at that.
Yeah. 2 letters there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're going to switch gears for something fun. And I have this box of a bunch of random fun things. And originally I was going to start off with Mad Libs, and we're going to get there because I think Mad Libs is just fantastic. I haven't done them in quite some time, but they're amazing. But then I came across this book, thank you Amazon recommendations, Would You Rather? And they're mostly clean so far for what I've read. It's laugh out loud game for camping, road trips, and vacation travel. And what I've learned reading these to a few people is that you can actually learn a decent amount about people from Would You Rathers.
Great. Let's do it.
Would you rather ride in a car with someone who keeps sneezing or coughing?
Sneezing.
Why?
It's like like a less abrasive sound. Like, unless, I would need like a sneezing into the elbow, not like aggressively sneezing into the abyss like that.
What if somebody was covering their cough the same way? Yeah, I feel like less germs get out with coughing.
At this point, I think the germs aren't even my issue. I'm just like...
Just the sound?
Yeah. All
right, that's fair. Would you rather go on a road trip without any snacks or drinks?
Without drinks, I could do.
Wouldn't you get thirsty? I mean, if you eat the snacks, you immediately get thirsty.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a big like water drinker, which is bad, but mostly because my girlfriend would be drinking water and then we'd have to pee every 10 minutes.
That's a good way of looking at it, is less bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
All right, I would agree with that one. Originally, I was on the other side, but I've come over. Ooh, this is a good one. Would you rather drive with someone who smells bad or never stops talking?
Are these all road trip ones?
At least so far. We'll
I
jump
get it.
ahead
No.
and see.
Wait, smells bad or won't stop talking?
Yeah, never stops talking or someone who smells bad.
They can smell as bad as better. I'll go with that.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm like,
Ooh.
if I need quiet time, I need quiet time.
I mean,
if they're like fun to talk to, it depends on the person.
I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I am a big, I don't think this is the right term, but olfactory person. Smells bother me. Like one of my jobs when I first got into fashion, and I was working it was 155 North Michigan. The last 3 months they put in a Garrett's popcorn, and I think everybody when they walk by a Garrett's, they're like, oh, this smells amazing. I love Garrett's. Garrett's makes me want to vomit at this point, and I love the popcorn. It's nothing to do with the popcorn.
Yeah.
But the scent from the kitchen went up through the elevator. So when you got on that elevator and we opened the hallway to the office,
oh no,
it was the most. I mean, I wanted to vomit every single day, and I think that was the start. Now, like, if it's really hot and humid on a day, and I can pick up someone's cologne or perfume from a mile away and be like, why are you wearing so much cologne? So when somebody smells bad, like if it's an Uber driver or something, like I started doing minimally Uber Comfort, but usually Uber Black, just to guarantee that the driver doesn't smell.
Oh, does it guarantee that? That's
Comfort's like, I'd say 90% of the time you're still good. There will be that one time that's not so good. Black, you'll never have somebody that smells bad.
good to know.
But then you're spending twice as much.
Right. I feel like since I can like get used to them, right? Like at first it's, if you're in it, you just kind of, it just becomes,
I guess.
natural. But
I guess.
I feel you.
And if I guess it probably, if it's a 10-minute Uber, 20-minute Uber,
Right.
it's probably different than a road trip.
Yes.
Here's a pet one.
Okay.
So this should be easy. Would you rather keep a fox as a pet or an otter?
Oh, otter all day.
Otter, they're so cute.
Yeah,
That's not a good one.
I mean, foxes are great, but
They're cute, but otters are
yeah.
literally the most adorable. Would you rather raise farm animals or exotic animals? I think I know this one.
Oh, I mean, I think just because the exotic animal trade is not very nice, so farm animals.
All right. Would you rather cuddle with a koala or a sloth?
Sloth did that last weekend.
Real last weekend?
Yeah.
Where at?
There was like at a parrot shop. It was lots of, I'd never seen that many parrots in my life, but they had like an outdoor festival and people brought
The Parrot Fest?
Yeah.
Is it in Chicago?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Chicago Parrot Fest?
Yeah, it was like a TikTok bird that I follow that posted they're going to be there. So it was lots of crazy. There were bats. Got to pet the sloth. Albino skunk. Weird stuff.
Albino skunk. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be confused if I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, how did you get this one, and how does it pet? Like, did you breed albino as a pet, or you just someone caught a white one and then took it as a pet?
Right. That's a great question.
Impressive, by the way.
We'll need to be on the watch for Parrot Fest next year.
Yeah, well, it's Parrot. I think Parrot Talk is the shop. Yeah, it was interesting.
Sloths are very cute. Don't they have sharp talons? Are they talons or are they claws?
I think they're they're like talons.
I feel like talons is usually birds. I should know this because of my whole love for birding now. But
I guess what do you have, like the bear? I guess claws. Right?
Yeah, claws.
Yeah, no, they're gnarly, but they go so slow they can't really.
Yeah.
Like a slow. Yeah, there's not much like.
High five.
Right.
That works. All right, that was some good. Would you rather? That was our first go at Would You Rather.
That's great.
When was the last time you did Mad Libs?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
3rd grade? Sounds about right.
Probably.
I don't necessarily remember all the rules. But we're going to... here, we'll let you pick the subject.
Okay.
History of a famous invention. How to date the coolest guy/girl in school.
Oh, that one.
All right.
Let's go for it.
More Father Goose rhymes. That could be an interesting one, too. All right, I gotta find this one. There we are. All right. Gosh, I feel like this is almost like a quiz or a test in literature arts or like writing. Like plural noun. I need a plural noun so everyone remembers subject.
You're right.
Subject, how to date the coolest guy/girl in school.
Oh, gosh. Plural noun.
Plural noun. So a thing, multiple things.
Sloths.
Adverb.
You're going to kill me, Grant.
Like, adverb, I know it's like a, it's like really, I
What
think
grade
it's
is
an adverb.
this?
I know,
Like
this is advanced
8th
stuff.
grade
It's like,
ad-libs?
isn't it adverb, I think like really or especially, isn't it a word like that? It's like before a verb that like boost the
Uh-huh. Yeah, do whatever, one of those.
really.
Okay.
Verb,
Jump.
article of clothing. That's easy.
Hat.
Part of the body.
Knee.
That's a good one. Adjective.
Saucy.
Noun.
Ferret.
Plural noun.
Radios.
Part of the body.
Ear.
This is gonna get
A little
you know,
weird.
this is
Yeah.
we're gonna go past G-rated pretty quick. Plural noun.
Books.
Part of the body.
Back.
He or she.
Just pick one.
Yeah.
She.
Noun.
Cactus.
Another noun.
Polar bear. Is that a noun?
Yeah. Verb ending in ing. Aren't all verbs ending in ing?
Singing.
Adjective, adjective, and verb.
Squishy. Delicious. And eating. Eat.
All right. How to date the coolest guy/girl in school. So we're going with the girl. How to date the coolest girl in school. It's simple. Turn the sloths and make her really to date you. Make sure you're always dressed to jump. Each and every day, wear a hat that you know shows off your knee to saucy advantage and makes your ferrets look like a million radios. Even if the two of you make meaningful ear contact, don't admit it.
Ooh.
No hugs or books. Just shake her back firmly. And remember, when she asks you out, even though a chill may run down your cactus, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to stop your polar bear from sinking. Just play it squishy. Take a long pause before answering in a very delicious voice. I'll have to eat it over.
Ooh. I mean, it got better as it went
I
on.
mean, the cactus and the polar bear.
Yeah.
Even though a chill may run down your cactus, I might use that in the future.
Yeah, I feel that in my bones. Yeah.
All right, that was a good one. All right, we'll leave that one there. Speaking of gifts, before I have a gift for you. So
You do.
I've already made you shoes, but I was like, you know what? The last pair of shoes was cool and funky. But I was like, what if Zoe wants to like dress it up or, you know, mix? I'm all about mixing styles. And what if she wants to mix nice and funky and, you know, formal and all that?
Yeah.
So I have a gift. I already told you it's shoes, but here's the gift.
Oh.
I felt like you can wear this
Hell yeah.
and you can rock this. So
Sick.
I love velvet loafers. To me, they're one of like the most fun things you can wear.
Yeah.
I have them in a million colors. And the black one, sure. Can you wear these with a tuxedo to something nice? Absolutely. That's what they're for, normally. I wear them to grocery store. I'll wear them anytime because they're awesome. And I love when people question and say, like, why are you wearing black velvet loafers, especially with the patent tassels on them? So I thought you can easily rock these, and I thought they were perfect for you.
They're great. Thank you. You give the best gifts.
Oh, that's great. I love gift giving.
Yeah.
It's
I like it.
so, and like, it works out because I know you like shoes. I know you like kind of this style, and I've already made a shoe for you.
It's great. And there's not enough women's shoes that are, well, I want men's shoes in my size.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always tough.
Yeah.
But we were talking about gifts, and I was like, yes, today I have one because I've already done this and I've worked with her before.
That's great. I'm excited. I'm going to wear them today.
And now at some point you'll have to do another shoot with me. But here's one way we can do it. I'll help style the Vans shoot.
I mean, hell yeah.
We'll get our joint or mutual VA. We can share a VA. That's perfect. And they'll just send emails for us.
Perfect.
And they'll reach out to Vans, and we'll have that done.
That's great.
Awesome. So, like, for me, like, everything is always going back to style. And where do you see your style evolving the next few years?
I mean, like, clothing style?
Anything. Photography, business, entrepreneurship. To me, style is in everything. It's in the way you talk with people, the way you work with people. That all is a style. It's like, what is going to shift for you, especially as you're coming out of this period where you are feeling burned out? What's your style going to be, whether it's photography, clothing, business? What's it going to be?
Yeah, I think I've been like transitioning into like getting rid of a lot of things that I don't necessarily love, like especially in my closet, like really simplifying to quality made clothing and like classic pieces. And it's kind of, I've really enjoyed being like taking basically no colors in my closet anymore, and it's like everything matches because it's all black and white, and then I just get to play with shapes and textures, which is like the fun, you know, it like makes it fun and not so daunting.
Right.
You have to be like, can I mix brown and blue? Like I don't fucking know, but I know I can mix black and black. And so I think that transcends into like a more mature sort of not formal, but definitely like clean and put together image. And I think doing the same thing and like cleaning house on, like I've always been very like wanting a clean website and, you know, streamlining that kind of design where it feels professional. But yeah, I think just there's a lot of work that I made 12 years ago that might need to like retire and like make space for more work, new work.
Yeah. I always find it really interesting when musicians talk about, like, so I've always loved punk. Like, it's always kind of been one of my things. And there have been two artists that I've heard in the past couple of years, more recently, open up about their past. And one of my all-time favorite bands is Taking Back Sunday.
Great.
And like, they open up, they hate singing some of that stuff that made them Taking Back Sunday, and that the people that really come out to see them like want to hear at the end of the day, because 2 albums ago it was not their best work, generally consensus. I agreed with that. They released an album recently that I actually thought was much closer to their old stuff, but very new. So I loved it, and I'm hoping that, you know, they get jazzed and energized by it. And another one was Ben Howard, when he released Every Kingdom. One of the things that I thought was fascinating, Every Kingdom came out the same day as Ed Sheeran's, was that, I forgot which Ed Sheeran, but it was like the same exact day. And they had just completely different trajectories of career paths from that day. Ben Howard, that album was amazing, but then you heard more and more on tour about him kind of getting a little, not like pissed, it seemed like pissed at the world. And then a few years ago, he basically threw a tantrum on stage and was like, I hate everything that I've done in the past. I'm not doing anymore. I'm not performing any of it. And I think about that. I'm always trying to evolve my style. Like I didn't wear black probably for 6 or 7 years. And a lot of it was just everybody's wearing black, so I'm going to kind of not wear black to stick it to them. And then really in the last like 2-3 years, I've come around to loving black again. But the style's always evolving, and I think that piece of it, making room for your past. Do you dislike past work?
I mean, obviously some of it, maybe like technically, or like my edit on it, can bother me, but I think I almost fall into the opposite side of the spectrum where I hang on to, or I have like an emotional connection, or with a piece of work that I've just outgrown that. And so learning to like have new work and have it still be emotionally connected to it, can be hard sometimes. But I mean, even in this style realm, I used to be like a little goth little skater kid and like wear, like I loved Avril Lavigne, so I would wear like the ties and like the Converse, and I would get made fun of it for it all the time. And it was like I wanted to wear all black, and it was just like, why are you being goth, or like, which is so ridiculous thinking about it now. But I think that kept me from expressing myself in that way for a long time. And then honestly, like Johnny Cash and him just being like back in black I was like, fuck it, like I'm gonna do what I've always wanted to do since I was like a little 12-year-old running around. Like, so I think I've really fallen back into that that space that felt like I wasn't accepted to be there, and now it's like, no, this feels right.
Yeah. Part of me wishes, especially, so I have 2 daughters now, part of me wishes so much that they can skip years like 12 through 24 even. It still blows my mind, and it's so much worse than me, like my time growing up, because we didn't have social media. It's like that wasn't a thing. Now the kids that have social media, it blows my mind. It doesn't surprise me when you read that the suicide rates is the highest it's ever been, and the rate of depression and all the terrible mental,
especially with girls.
It's unbelievable. And I think it's one of the saddest things how people are not allowed to express themselves.
Right.
Like I grew up I was a white straight male on the football and volleyball teams. I had it fairly easy in high school. I went to a giant high school. My graduating class was over 1,300. It's like you didn't know, it wasn't the same as a normal high school where they're, I still meet people that were apparently in my class today that I had no idea.
Yeah, that's like my high school. It's like, very small handful. But.
So could I have been myself somewhat, but it's all in the realm of like, you don't want to look a certain way for all the football kids or the volleyball kids or the friends you grew up before that with. And I've always been my own person. As soon as I was done with school, I was very much my own person. I feel awful for the kids now that like can't be, because I feel like your most formative years of development, you can't like be yourself.
Well, and you have like 100,000 to be bullies and trolls that are, waiting to tear you down.
Yeah.
But I think we also have such a great, I don't even know what is it, Gen Zers or what's the next one? Like
Naya, what's the next one after Gen Z?
Xers, but
we'll have to get on that one.
There's a lot, like, I think, yes, that component of social media is so detrimental, but I think there's such an open-mindedness with kids now of like just being queer and like gender identity and like in a way that was never really possible before. And like I at the time didn't know I was queer, but I just knew that every Halloween I wanted to dress as a boy and wear sweatpants and like boxers, and if I'd maybe been born a little bit later and been in a space where being queer wasn't, was an option or wasn't strange or you saw it, I think my style would have progressed a lot quicker.
Sure. I think about that regularly, like with people, everything you said with newer generations and getting to their true selves quicker, and not like mine's the same from like a identity perspective, but I grew up, everybody in the area went to college. Everybody, you study, you become a lawyer, a doctor, accountant. And when I first got to University of Illinois, I was food science, human nutrition, pre-dental, because I wanted to be an orthodontist.
Wow.
Why did I want to be an orthodontist? Because I had Googled at some point, like the jobs that you can retire the youngest and make the most amount of money and have the least hours of work.
Right.
And sure, you have schooling, to be an orthodontist, but it's like, oh, this sounds great. You're going to make a bunch of money. You won't have to work a ton. It's like, that's great. And then I left the corporate world to do fashion, and sure, you make no money right away with what I was doing, but you're so happy. I found myself so quickly once I switched, and once I started dressing, like the person I met, he showed me that like you can dress however you want. You don't have to worry. Like he was the first person to tell me, don't worry about being the best dressed person in the room. It's like, if that's your biggest problem, it's like you're crushing it.
Right.
And I think so many more people are going to kind of have that moment now. So there is lots of hope, and I'm glad you bring that optimism and hope to it.
I'm trying.
Because from a parent's perspective, it is definitely scary. Now our older one's only 3.5, and the other one's 9 months. So plenty of time to see what happens with social media beforehand, but they are not getting a phone for a very long time.
Oh yeah, smart.
It's the easiest way. It's like, if I don't want to eat crap, don't keep crap in the house.
Yep.
If you don't want them on social media, don't give them any technology.
Yeah, or get them a Razr flip phone. That shit's cool.
Razr flip phones are
never
amazing.
Went out of style.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
Like back, even the Nokia, the old days with Snake on it, like all you need is Snake.
All you need is Snake.
That's it. That's all you need.
You need a bumper sticker that says that.
We'll make that. It's going on the G. Alexander website soon. That'll be our first collab.
There you go.
All right, we're going to switch over to some bonus stuff right now. So if you want to check that out, head over to Patreon and hear more fun stuff about Zoe.